critics do argue that the promotion of LGBT ideology might undermine religious ideology as well. And when we look at this in the round here, we've spoken about parental rights, about confusing children, about undermining core Judeo-Christian beliefs. Do you think there's something bigger at play here? Is there some kind of agenda?
Yeah. For the most people, they're not very intelligent. And so I don't think most people pushing this have an agenda. They just like feeling like they're part of the in crowd, oh, the cool kids right now, the celebrity Taylor Swift or whatever likes to say this, so I'm going to say this. But I do think, let's take BLM, I think, which is the most stark example. BLM is not about ending racial discrimination or promoting racial equality. What BLM is about is tearing down our society completely, and they have no image in which they'd like to rebuild it. And so that's why you saw after the October 7th attack, BLM chapters were putting out paraphernalia that had the Hamas attackers, the paragliders. They were promoting that paraglider image because for BLM, it is not about racial equality. It is about everyone who is oppressed rising up, however necessary, against whoever is the oppressors. And the oppressed has nothing to do with actually, you could be Barack Obama and president of the United States, but you're still oppressed because you're Black. And so it is entirely about your skin color. And so because the Jews are quote unquote white, you have to rise up against them. So there is, that's of course very much against Christian ideology, where every single person has worth and you are judged based on your acts, not based on anything else. So it is an ideology that is completely foreign to Western civilization, completely dangerous, and it has no positive value. It is only tearing down. There's nothing to rebuild from there.
Do you think that is inherently racist then? Because everybody bought into BLM. You mentioned TikTok earlier when it came to trans and the way that can infiltrate young minds as well. But I do wonder about whether celebrities pushing it, politicians pushing it, and social media pushing things like the BLM agenda and a catchy slogan, right? I think everyone can agree Black Lives Matter. Black lives do matter, obviously. But when you look at the fact that the Black Lives Matter group published a manifesto, and that manifesto was basically communist, it's certainly Marxist, saying things like about the eradication of private property and the breakdown of the traditional nuclear family and things like that. Do you think that there is an irresponsibility amongst social media users and celebrities and politicians to push that kind of stuff? Do you think they know what they're doing?
Yeah, it's just, unfortunately, there is all of the power in society right now seems to be going toward victims. And so we see this a lot with Meghan Markle, right? Meghan Markle has had everything go right in her life. She married a prince. She's fabulously wealthy. She's beautiful. She's a good actress. And instead of using that perch to say, I am going to promote good. I'm going to promote the society that helped me succeed. I'm going to now help it. Instead, she complains and complains and complains because she knows that being a victim is what is respected. And so as long as all of these celebrities feel the same way, that they need to somehow align themselves with victimhood, whether that's hashtag Me Too, whether that's Black Lives Matter, and whether they need to either themselves be victims or sort of align themselves with the general idea that America makes, all groups that don't look a certain way into victims. That is the narrative that is being celebrated. And so celebrities are not brave. They are not leaders. And instead, they're all Meghan Markle, and they're trying to make themselves into victims.
Yeah, victimhood is such a big issue here, and I also think that ridiculous need for identity. I actually think parents are to blame a lot of the time. I think there's a heck of a lot of Munchausen by proxy going on here, where they feel as though their child has to be special, therefore there has to be something different about their child. And where that child maybe doesn't belong to a particular ethnic minority group, so that child is largely white, middle class, for example, then I think that's especially where the gender issue can sometimes come in, and that's where the parents really get their hands on it there. But can I ask, it says here, I wonder what it's like being a member of the LGBT community in schools these days. I've got some stats, right? You may correct me on these. I don't know. I don't live in the US. But it says in the US as a whole, the LGBT population is up from 3.5% in 2012 to 7.1% in 2022. 1 in 6 Gen Z, I'm never quite sure what the age cutoff for Gen Z is, but anyway, 1 in 6 Gen Z say they are LGBT. So is that because they always have been and people have been suppressing it, or is something happening with these children in the school system that is now pushing them that way, do you think?
It is a social contagion, and I've seen that 1 in 6 number actually be as low, depending on the survey, as 1 in 4 young people saying that they are LGBTQ plus AI, whatever. And, maybe there is something to, it used to be you couldn't say it out loud and now you can, but you've been able to say it out loud for a very long period of time. And even something private like a survey, there was never any legal consequence to, this isn't Africa, right? This isn't the Gaza Strip. There aren't consequences for having a sexual orientation that is not heterosexual. So the idea that it used to be you're going to die in America if you're gay and now it's not, and that's why everyone is identifying, it's just it's factual. That's just not how it's looked. And you know what? Today, it's very free. It's very free. Identify however you want. But if you still look just today at people who are not Gen Z, they are still identifying as LGBT at very, very small rates. And so if this was just about societal pressure, then you'd see those older people also saying that they're LGBT, but you don't. You only see it in the young people. And the thing that's different about the young people is, 1, your brains aren't developed until you're 26, but 2, it's social media.